how can the brake rotors go bad in just 25,000 kilometers? Hello everyone, this is Bichao and welcome back to my channel. Now I asked this question on Instagram to a lot of you people about that my car has just done 50,000 kilometers and would you guys be interested in learning about how this car has been, how my experience has been and what all has gone wrong with the car. So today this video is about my Polo which I bought in 2018 and today it's completed 50,000 kilometers. Now 50,000 kilometers isn't a lot, but it still is quite a significant amount when you consider the Polo, especially the GT TSI with its very suspicious DSG gearbox. So here's my update on how my car has been and how it's been over the last 4 years, what all trouble it's given me, where all we need to focus and what all is wrong. Now the first thing is that this is a 2018 Polo GT TSI, which means this is its 5th year of existence, and over these 5 years I have driven this car not too much, 50,000 kilometers. That is comparatively very less compared to my previous car. Before this I had a Volkswagen Vento diesel manual and that car I had driven about 80,000 kilometers in 5 years. So comparatively this car has been driven quite a bit less, specifically because of the lockdowns where almost for an entire year we were just sitting at home. So I think the first 15 to 20,000 kilometers on this car took a long time. And after that, things have started moving much faster. Now, this is a family car. I got this car to replace my Vento. And there are very specific reasons why I downgraded from a sedan to a hatchback. First, and the most primary reason is that my Vento was a diesel manual. Now, those of you who have a diesel manual Vento know how much of a pain it is. The clutch is heavy. In traffic, in heavy traffic situations or bad roads, the car is just a pain. The clutch just ruins your leg, man. It just ruins your left leg. And that is one of the primary reasons I wanted to shift from a diesel manual to an automatic. Now the second reason why I downsized was because I did not find a use for a sedan in my house. Basically till now it's been me and my wife, two of us, where most of the time I am driving the car alone or she is driving the car alone. So it didn't make a lot of sense to us to have a proper full-size sedan which both the rear seats are going to be empty most of the times. We don't have too much of luggage. So for most of our purpose, this car was more than enough. So these are the two reasons that I shifted down from a Vento to a Polo. And obviously the automatic gearbox in this car was also a big deciding factor because that makes things a lot more convenient, especially in traffic, especially on bad roads. Also, the problem with the Vento is if you're 2 up or if you're 3 up in the car, it just keeps scraping on each and every speed breaker, especially if you have one person or even 2 people sitting at the back seat. Now, as I said, this is mostly a family car, which means it's done most of its time doing family duties, which means driving from Pune to Mumbai for work, driving from Pune to Kolhapur to meet the family. It's not done a lot of long distance journeys. The maximum long distance journey this car has done is Goa. And apart from that, mostly this car has done weekend drives. That is to places nearby like Lavasa, Lonavala, 70-80 kilometers one way. So in most of the cases, this car has been driven and being used as a proper family car, where I have also not been too harsh on the car. I would say most of the time I've been driving it normally on automatic mode. There are times when I go for weekend drives, when the car goes into manual mode, I do have fun with the car. But I would say that would be maybe about 4 to 5% of the entire 50,000 kilometers of this car, where 95% it's done in a very relaxed and very chilled out way. Now, one thing I did keep in mind while purchasing this car, I knew about that this car might have issues going forward. So one thing I did is I purchased an extra extended warranty with this car, a 5-year warranty, which still is active on this car. I think it will expire in April of 2023, but till then this car still is under warranty. So let me take you to the car, let me show you around the car, let me show you what all has gone wrong, where all I've spent money over the last 5 years, and I'm going to address some of the questions that you asked me on that Instagram poll, and I'm going to tell you how this car has been over this time. Surprise, surprise. It's not bad. It's actually really good and really reliable. Let's go. So this is my 2018 Polo GT TSI, which has just completed 50,000 kilometers. The biggest issues or the biggest problems that I have had with this car is more to do with me than it is to do with the car. Because of my driving, because of how I have driven this car, it's got a lot of bangs, it's got a lot of dents. I'm going to show you each and every one of them. I have basically, it's been used between the family, so it's been used between me and the wife, but most of the damage that you see on the car is been done by me. I am not putting anything on the wife because she's actually a really good driver and she's quite careful with the car. It's me who sometimes drives like an idiot, and because of that, this car has a lot of blemishes. It's got a lot of dents and a lot of painting work which is required to get it back into shape. Now, most of the damage is cosmetic. That said though, it still needs to be addressed. It still needs to be fixed. As of now, it isn't. So over here, that's a bad gash. Then if I come on to this side, this is where things get really bad. So this basically, again, not technically my fault, but it happened while I was driving. I was on my side of the road and there were a couple of bell, or what do you call, ox, who were running on the road, and one of them suddenly decided to start running towards me and went straight into this fender. This is something else. Then over here, this is a big gash. So the problem is, so this is a big old gash. This is probably about 2 years old. I still haven't fixed this because I thought I will give it to insurance once and for all, where I'll get everything claimed. But slowly by slowly, there's been so much of damage on the car that now I think I need to take multiple insurances just to make sure that this car is back to normal. So this happened because of a 6-seater guy who did not see me on his left, and he just turned and he went straight into me over here. Apart from that, there are scratches here and there. There are scratches over here. There are dents all over the car. So in terms of how this car is kept, in terms of what all is wrong with this car, it's actually the driver's fault. It's actually my fault that I have been driving this car a little too harsh, a little too rash at places, and probably because of that, there's a lot of denting, there's a lot of outside body damage on this car. In terms of its mechanicals though, this car has been surprisingly good. And that I'm saying because before this I also had a Volkswagen. I had the Vento, and the Vento was not this good. The Vento wasn't this reliable. It had problems, not at 50,000 but about 70,000 is where my injectors blew off in the Vento diesel car. Injectors blew off. I had to get an entire set of new injectors, which costed me quite a lot of money because I took it to a person outside Volkswagen and they suggested I change just one injector. I did that, and due to that, the rest of the 3 injectors also failed. So I had to eventually I had to change all 4 of the injectors. That was a big expense on the Vento, which thankfully, touch wood, till now this car hasn't given me. Apart from that, in terms of normal wear and tear, I think I have changed the brake pads once on this car. The tires have not been changed yet. These are still the original tires. They still have, I think, a little bit of groove remaining, although I think it's now high time I get these tires changed as well, because I can feel their grip running out, they're washing out on corners. There is a little problem of that. But yeah, apart from that, this car has been pretty nice to me. Okay, now I'm going to quickly take you on the inside. And on the inside, my car is pretty standard. I have not done actually nothing to the car. This is pretty much bone stock on the inside. Also on the outside, mechanically as well, there are no air filters. There has nothing been done. Over here you can see it's just finished 50,000 kilometers, 50,621 kilometers, what we are at currently. One of the biggest issues for me with the Vento was that these air vents used to break, they used to fall inside, and every service that I used to go to, almost every service that I used to go to, at least one of these air vents used to be broken. Thankfully, under warranty, I used to get them replaced. In this car though, it's been 4 years, 50,000 kilometers, and everything is still in place. None of the air vents are broken, or if they are loose, nothing like that. Since this is a 2018 car, I got it along with this touchscreen unit, which also enables Apple CarPlay as well as Android Auto. And it also has parking sensors at the back. So in terms of having the gadgetry, in terms of having the tech, this car is pretty okay. Since this is a 2018 car, I have the Jetta steering wheel, obviously without the pedals. Also, one more thing that used to go really wrong with the Vento for me were these power window switches. Every rainy season that I've had the Vento, one of these switches used to fail religiously every year, over and over. I had the car for 7 years and every year these switches used to fail. 5 years the car was under warranty, so I got them fixed for 5 years without free of cost. Then after that, once or twice I had to get them fixed on my own. That is with the Vento. Again, with the Polo, till now nothing has gone wrong. All the electronics in this car, including the power windows, the power mirrors, everything has been working flawlessly. I have not had a single issue with the car. Now, in terms of overall driving dynamics, I prefer this car over the Vento. The Vento does feel a lot more planted. It does feel a lot more stable when you're driving on the highway at highway speeds. But this thing is way more fun when you're driving around corners, when you're going fast, when you're on manual mode. This thing is way faster. It's way more fun. That said though, both the Vento as well as the Polo, I think it's a disease in the entire Volkswagen group. None of these cars have good steering feedback. You really can't feel what the front end is doing. It does make you feel a little lagging when you're going fast, when you're trying to have fun with this car. But that said, for 98% of the time, this car is good enough. It's fun, it's fast. Not probably the fastest hatchback in the world, but one of the fastest and one of the quickest hatchbacks in India, and that way this car is really good. Now, in my previous videos I do keep complaining about this car, I do keep complaining about things here and there about this car, but most of the things that I complain about this car are superficial. They are things that I am complaining because I have to complain. Till now, honestly, the way I have been driving this car, 50,000 kilometers in this car have been pretty trouble free. They have been pretty tension free, and I have actually been able to enjoy all that 50,000 kilometers. Now, one more thing where I have noticed changed over the last 4 years that I've been using this car is in its fit and finish and its build quality. That's one of the places where I've noticed a lot of difference between this car and my previous Vento. So what I think Volkswagen has done is they have focused and they have allotted their budget at certain places. Like for example, as I mentioned before, the power windows, the AC vents were constant problem with the Vento. Mine was a 2012 Vento, which I think I kept till 2019, around 2020, and that's when I sold the car, and that was a constant issue with that car. With this Polo, Volkswagen has fixed those issues, but at the same time, where I do see change, where I do see a difference, is that they have also at the same time reduced the interior build quality in the car. What I mean by that is, I drove the Vento for a good 98,000 kilometers before I sold the car, and in that period of time, in all that running, the car's interior was still quiet. There were no rattles, there were no squeaks. In this, the plastic has already started making noise. The plastic bits like the door panels. There's a plastic covering on top of the instrument panel. That instrument cluster has started making noise. A lot of squeaks, lot of rattles. I mean, they are still not as bad as a Maruti. I had a Swift way before. I think in 2005 I had a Maruti Swift. Boy, that thing was a completely different thing. That thing used to feel like I am sitting in a bag of nuts and bolts and somebody's shaking it. It's that rattly. It's not that bad. It's probably like maybe 10, 15, 20% as bad as that. That said though, it still feels, because you can still notice the build quality, especially when you're coming from a previous generation Volkswagen product. You do definitely feel that they have compromised. They have settled down a little bit with what Indians expect out of build quality and what they can provide, while at the same time cutting costs. Apart from that, in terms of changing parts on the car, I don't think I have changed too many things on the car. Most of the things have been working the way it is. As I said before, I think I have changed brake pads once. The regular oil changes, the oil servicing. Also, when I asked this question about what would you like to know about my car, more than 70% of the replies were asking me how many times did I have an ABS failure, how many times have I had an injector failure. So for you to know, thankfully, touch wood, till now I have not had a single ABS failure. I have not had a single problem with the injectors till now. Probably the reason behind that is I usually go to just one single fuel pump. I go to Shell, and I get my car filled up at Shell. Now people might be saying Shell is more expensive, it's like 3 to 4 rupees more expensive, but I've done the calculation. So even if Shell is 4 rupees more expensive, the amount of fuel that I fill will make a difference of about 4,000 rupees in an entire year. One pair of or one set of injectors are going to cost me about 60,000 rupees. So I have done my calculation, and I think filling a slightly more premium, slightly more better fuel does make a little sense. It's going to, and especially with these European cars where the injectors are really sensitive, I think it's money well spent. So in terms of preventative maintenance, which some of you guys were asking me, that is the kind of preventative maintenance, or that's the kind of preventative care I take with this car, where I mostly 90% of times I only fill at Shell. I get a top up done, and that's basically it. Let's quickly have a look at the engine bay. Let's see what do we have underneath over here. So it is dirty. It's very dirty because it's time for its, I think, 5th or 6th service. It's about 1500 kilometers away from its 5th service. Things are a little dirty, things are a little messed up over here. There are leaves, there are a lot of dirt and mud, but it's pretty clean. I don't see any oil leakages anywhere. Nothing is leaking, nothing is overheating. Yep, things are good. Now in terms of service, to keep one of these going, you need to spend anywhere close to 9,000 to 12,000 rupees every 15,000 kilometers, and that price basically depends on how good the service staff is at convincing you with sales and how much they can sort of shove the add-ons to you. Things like detailing. Like for example, on my 3rd service, I took this car in, and they called me later on and they said that, sir, your brake pads are gone, but at the same time your brake discs are also gone. The rotors are gone. And I was like, how is that possible? So they're like, no sir, you'll have to get it changed. I was like, hello, hold on. The car has done about 25,000 kilometers. If my brake rotors, and that too I have been driving normally, I have not been driving like a mad person, like an idiot who thinks that the road is a racetrack. I've not been doing that. So when I'm driving normally, how can the brake rotors go bad in just 25,000 kilometers? For that he had no answer, because I told him straight up, if at 25,000 kilometers I'm having problems with my brake rotors, and despite me driving like a complete normal person, then for sure it's not my fault. It's not something that I have done wrong. In fact, it's a manufacturing defect. So you'll take a look at it and you let me know what you want to do with the car. He didn't call me back. So you need to be a little smart. You need to be a little careful about what they are telling you, what they're telling you to change, what they're telling you to replace on the car. If you have a little bit of idea and a little bit of knowledge yourself, you can look up and you can see that no, they're just trying to charge you for things that are not wrong on the car. But apart from that, the Volkswagen service experience has been pretty good. They have not done too much of nakras, or they have not done too much of, you know, like you change this, change that, and they've not been too forceful. They've not been trying to convince too much in a very sly way. It's been good. Okay, so here are a few more questions that I've got randomly asked. Maintenance period, how big is the hole in your pocket after that? Honestly, nothing. I've not even changed the tires on the car yet, although I have to now. Only thing I've changed is brake pads, which were I think 3,000 bucks. That's about it. That's all I've spent in terms of additional costs apart from service. Is the ground clearance practical if fully loaded? Yes, the ground clearance is quite well when it's fully loaded even. It never scrapes in between. Where you have to be careful is the front though. This is where things might scrape, things do get really close. Be careful there. Do you trust your Polo for a problem-free K2K trip? Yes, I absolutely do. Kashmir to Kanyakumari and Kanyakumari to Kashmir, whatever, both ways, no problems. I do not doubt this car at all, even a single bit. All I will do though, throughout the way, is be careful where I'm filling, because the fuel in India for cars like this is very important. If you're filling bad fuel, the injectors might go for a toss. It's going to cost you a lot of money. How reliable is the gearbox? Till now, no problems. I am expecting issues going forward. Let's see what they are. Are they mechatronic issues? Are they clutch issues? I'm hoping and I'm praying that they are clutch issues. What mileage does it give? So the mileage is a little bit of a pain point. In the city, I get 9, 10, 11 kilometers per liter. which is still okay considering it's a DSG gearbox, considering it's an automatic. If it was a manual and I was a really good driver, probably 12, 13. On the highway though, this thing goes all the way up to 19, 20. So if you're really gentle, not overly gentle, but if you're doing good speeds, if you're doing balanced, if you're not being a mental psychopath on the highway, this thing is going to give you 18 to 20 kilometers per liter, which is pretty good. What's the top speed I've gone to till now? I think I have taken this car to about 180, 185 speedo indicated. That's the maximum I've gone. I don't know if it goes any further, if it's even true according to what the speedo suggests, but that's what I've done. Performance, good, great actually. Being a stock car without having any stage 1, stage 2 mods, it's more than enough for me as a family car. I don't need any more performance out of this on a regular day-to-day basis. Wherever on the highway I need to overtake something, this thing is quite fast, does the overtake without any issues. In the city, also quite fast. Not the most comfortable car because the suspensions are a little stiffly sprung, but good enough. That's one thing actually I miss the Vento for. The Vento had way more nicer suspensions. Of course, being a sedan, the suspensions are slightly more balanced on all 4 ends compared to a hatchback, which is slightly more stiffer, shorter wheelbase. So it's a little bit more jittery when you are on bad roads, but it's not that bad. Would you prefer a Polo TSI or a TDI? Any day a TSI. I am a petrol guy. I love petrol. Diesels are fine. Diesels are great for economy. But when it comes to hard driving, when it comes to actually feeling what the engine is doing and the response time from the engine, I prefer a petrol car any day. Transmission reliability and turbo lag. I haven't felt too much of a turbo lag issue. What I feel more is the transmission not being as responsive as you would be when you are shifting manually. That said, this is still one of the fastest transmissions, but you do have to slam the foot a little too hard for it to respond to you quickly, but it does respond. The journey from a stock Polo to the beast it is now, bro, it's still stock, bone stock. Steering rack, suspensions all good, parts change till now. Yep, steering rack, suspension all good. In fact, even on my Vento, which had done close to 1 lakh kilometers, I had no issues with the steering rack or the suspensions. The suspensions did get weak. They were a lot more softer than what they were when the car was new, but there were no leakages, there were no issues, there were no noises or anything else with the suspension. Well, that's been it. Those were the questions you asked for, and I hope I have replied to all of your questions and queries. If you have any other thing that you need to know about this particular car or my experience with it or anything else, please do let me know down in the comment section below. I would love to answer all of your queries, and I would like to let you know more about my car. I am looking forward to the next 50,000 kilometers with this car, and I hope you are too as well. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope to see you back again next time. Till then,